Welcome to the Justin Ng Show, where real entrepreneurs and investors reveal how they turn humble beginnings into high-impact ventures. From bold moves to capital raises, we unpack what it really takes to build and scale greatness. Let's go check it out. How do you rebuild after losing everything and come back stronger? Today, we break down the mindset, habits, and systems that turn rock bottom into a launchpad. You'll hear the morning routine he uses to rebuild momentum, step by step. Welcome back to the Justin Ng Show. I'm joined by Finney, entrepreneur, performance coach, and founder of Finney Performance Academy, who's led dozens of ventures, walked through heavy loss, and now helps men transform through faith, discipline, and service. We're talking resilience, relationships, and the 90-day playbook he uses to create measurable change. Greg, welcome to the show. Well, thank you so much, Greg, for joining me here today
Absolutely.
at the podcast mention. Thank you, Jackson and Bill Walsh, for having us this studio to shoot this podcast. So thank you so much.
Yeah, this place is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So I appreciate you coming here today. And so usually how I start is I just want to ask, how was it for you, coming from humble beginnings to how you are right now to a master at exiting a few businesses, also a master networker.
Yeah, so I started out, I grew up as a kind of bad kid, grew up without a father, and I had the most amazing mother in the world. She was amazing, and she worked 3 jobs, just to put a roof over her head and make sure that, I had a better life than we were actually living. She really sacrificed her life for me, and she's taught me discipline. She taught me hard work. She doesn't say she did. She asked me one day, she goes, "Why do you work so much? How do you do so much? Why do you do this?" I'm like, "Because of you." She's like, "I'm nothing like you." I'm like, "You're exactly like me. The only difference is I don't want to work 3 jobs for someone else. I created my own wealth,
Yeah.
And but I used to not have a belief system. I saw drug dealers on the corners, and I'm like, "Well, I could do that," because I would see people in nice cars and wealthy people, and I'm like, you have to be born into that. So I started doing drugs, not doing them, but selling them, and getting involved in that as a very young kid. 14 years old, I started. And at the same time, though, I was lifting weights and got into bodybuilding and training. And fortunately, I had a mentor, and the power of mentorship is everything. I had a guy named Father Dedish. He was a Catholic priest, and he's like, you're always fighting, you're always this, why don't you get into wrestling? Why don't you get into sports? Why don't you do things to better yourself? And he started teaching me, just principles of life based on faith, and I wasn't Catholic. I was born Catholic, but I wasn't Catholic. I wasn't in the church or anything. And I basically applied the principles from drug dealing, because business is business, whether you're a Fortune 500 company or you're a drug dealer. It's all the same, thing, it's just business. And I realized, I always had a conscience. I always thought, this isn't what I want to do. But I wanted to survive. I wanted a better life. So I started my own business. My first business was a car wash. And that turned into a car dealership, turned into a body shop, turned into real estate. I owned furniture franchise. I owned got a little bit of everything. I owned a construction company, a large concrete company. My last exit, I've had 2 big exits, was a waste industry company. I had a large company in Pennsylvania where we do construction dumpsters and restaurants and bars and things like that, and job sites. And the whole time, though, I was also a performance coach. I love coaching people. I love helping people, not just with their body and their physique and their natural health. I like helping with their mentality, their mindset, their total sleep studies, PEDs, TRT. Just to totally give them the life they want on their terms. And because I've had a lot of mentors through the years, and I've had a lot of people touch my life. I'm not self-made by any means, and I hate when people say they're self-made, because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for someone like you asking me to be on their podcast, somebody giving me a job, somebody opening a door for me to a new opportunity, somebody speaking on my behalf to get me an opportunity with somebody. Every single person in my way, even including the haters and the people that were against me, that helped drive me, has molded me into the individual that I am today.
Okay, what was the most profound thing that those mentors that you mentioned that gave you that was like make you who you are today?
The most profound thing I think was Father Dedish one day. I was looking at some trouble when I was young, and I was going to end my life. And I was literally ready to do it. And I get a knock on my door, and it was Father Dedish. And he was on his way out of town. And he said, I don't know why I'm here, but I just felt I needed to stop and see you.
Wow.
I mean, immediately that set my journey with faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized every day is a gift. And he taught me to stop thinking about my problems and stop thinking about the future and start thinking of solutions. He goes, every day you're alive is a blessing. You know,
Right.
he goes, you got up today. You have the intellect. You have the ability to do this. You're so much better off than so many other people out there.
Mm-hmm.
He told me, don't ever use other people's pain to drive you and feel and be thankful, but just be thankful that I have all my arms, my hands,
Right.
my
Exactly.
intellect, that I'm a healthy, I'm not a bad looking guy. I'm smart. I have an intellect. Look at that as a huge blessing instead of thinking about, oh, I'm struggling with this or that. And that's what really drives me because, every day people don't want to wake up. They complain. They don't want to go to work. They don't want to
Yeah.
do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of doing something about it, they just complain about it.
Yeah, that's true. I see, and I have people that I work with too. I can see that as well. And how how did that like drive you to like motivate you to this keep?
Well, I'd struggle in school. I
Okay.
really struggled in school. Teachers would tell me that I'm dumb, that I'm not smart, that I'm never going to be anything. I got a lot of fights in school. I got kicked out of multiple schools, and a big driving force was that is at that stage in my life, I wanted success to prove to everybody that I'm not a failure.
Okay.
And it's really not the way to be because I lived a very unhappy life for a long time because I got the Rolexes, the cars, I had a house with an indoor pool. Every time I achieved something, all I was doing it was to show other people. I based my self-worth on my net worth. And that's no way to live. I became massively successful. I've made and lost millions of dollars. Um, Probably lost more than I've made. And every time I achieved something,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I achieved it. What's next? What's next? What's next? And once I shift my mindset to, from my self-worth being on how I can impact others, what I can do for others, and stop caring about the material things that you can't take with you when you die anyways,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
my whole life has shifted now. Now I'm truly happy. Like I was never truly happy, but I was driven. But I was driven to show people I can make it.
Yeah.
Now I'm driven, and I'm even more driven now, but I'm driven to make impact.
Right.
Another big thing that changed my life is a guy did an exercise with me. I've spent so much money on mentors, and I used to even sneak in places that had events and stuff like that when I didn't have money. I was just a sponge to learn, to learn, to learn. I've been going to a therapist for 30 years, and not
Oh.
because I feel like I have an issue, but I go to a mindset therapist so I can say, hey, I had this situation today, and what happened, how did I here's how I handled that situation. Was that right? Was that wrong? What's your opinion on? I'm constantly trying to build skills, better my communication skills, better myself. And when you have somebody outside looking in, it's kind of like having a life coach for life, and I did it through a therapist. But we did an exercise about 20 years ago, and 25 years ago actually, wow, and said if you were to die today and you were looking down at your eulogy, who would be there? Who would come? What would they say? Would it be good? Would it be bad? I didn't like the answer because I was such a consuming person. What could you give me? What could you give me? What could you do for me? Instead of what can I do for you? And I didn't think I had my mom,
Mm-hmm.
maybe my kids,
Yeah.
but like who would really say anything good about me? And that changed my whole mindset from a taker to a giver.
Right.
And now I try to just help people make connections, network. I mean, that's where I'm really good at, is networking and making connections and introducing people with nothing in it for me. And once I started doing that, my whole life changed. Opportunities came to me, people come to me, people bring opportunities to me now. life is good. I feel now if I was to die today and look down on my eulogy, I think it would be a celebration of people saying some pretty good things about me.
Yeah, so I kind of resonate with that too because I've listened to podcasts and a lot of people say that when they started doing what he did, like just taking a thing, all of a sudden just start giving and provide more value. All of a sudden, like their businesses tenfold, everything just made much better, and also helping you with all the businesses you started and grow your business and to sell it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the first business you had, like what was the challenges that you had to overcome that was helping you in the future for all the other businesses you have as well?
The biggest thing I could give anybody is believe in your people and treat your people right.
Okay.
You're only one person. You can only do so much.
Okay.
You can't win a war without soldiers.
Okay, that's
You
fair.
know, and if you have bad soldiers, you're going to lose the war too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're only as good as the weakest person around you. And I made sure that I always had people around me that were smarter than me, better than me, more experienced than me. And I paid them the lion's share of the money. I always paid my employees really, really well at the top tier of whatever the pay bracket is in that industry. And I always believed in my employees, and I always tried to have a personal relationship with them. So they come in, I could read them and know, okay, something's going on at home. Let's talk. What can I do to help? You know, if you believe in your employees and you don't just treat them like a number, an expendable, and you really value them. Like when an employee would quit or tell me that he's quitting, I would sit down and have a talk with them and see, what can I do to change your mind? Why are you quitting? There's some reason you're leaving here. Is it me? Is it the company? Is it the pay? What is it that's compelling you to go somewhere else? Most of the time it's money. But I try to have the conversation instead of, hey, see you later, good luck. I value them so much that I sit down and do whatever I can do to still keep them. And then if they do stay, which most of them do, now they value me even more because of the fact that they see that I cared about them, that it's just not an employee. It's just not a position for me. Like I value them. I value everything they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been my key to all my success is anybody that I have ever had as an employee. I mean, granted, you get bad employees and you try to weed them out, but people that actually care and actually, do what they're supposed to do. Because most people, most employers pay enough so you don't quit, and most people do just enough work so you don't get fired.
That's fair. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I don't believe in that at all. I don't think that's a winning system. And even if you just look at it logically, it costs so much to hire somebody and train somebody.
Yep,
it's better just to pay them a little more and keep a good long employee. Plus, I always would listen to them. I would tell them, bring ideas. I've been around people where somebody brings them an idea, get out of here. You're not paid to think about that. When my employee gets an idea, even if it's a terrible idea, I listen to them and then I take the time and explain why I tried that or it won't work. And I encourage them to be leaders. I encourage them to think for me and to treat the company as if it was theirs. And I reward them for that.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing because right now I have a W-2 and it's the totally opposite. Like you bring in that human connection,
Mm-hmm.
and you get people they feel heard and they feel that and they get that kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, I still want to work here. I want to be.
Yeah, you empower them. You give them leadership.
Yeah.
You have them treated as if it's their company. You ask them for ideas. You ask them, I don't know everything. And I've been around people that I know everything, you know nothing, and they're successful and they do well.
Yeah.
But think if they would have opened their eyes up and treated their employees better, how well they would be. I got a guy, hey, work harder. I need a new Ferrari. I don't look at it like that. I say, work hard for us as a team and we all grow together. As I make money, as I grow, everybody with me grows with me.
Right. And that also will translate out to your customers.
Yeah.
Because the customers say, oh, you guys you have a good culture, good everything. We want to be a long-term customer, and that basically, I guess that's the culture you made, and then how you made your customers feel so much better to go do business with you guys.
If you Google reviews for Finney Waste LLC, you will see nothing but amazing reviews of how and those have nothing to do with me because I have a 2-minute interaction on a phone with a customer, or a dispatcher does.
Mm-hmm.
All those reviews are based on my employees in the field and corresponding with customers.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're out there, they don't know who Greg Finney is.
Mm-hmm.
They know who the guy that's delivering the service is. And if he's dirty, not well kept, grumpy, rude, then that reflects me and my company. So if you have a good culture, they're going to go out of their way to treat that customer as if it was a last customer and if it was their customer. And when you do that, that gives a great experience, a great culture. Now you get good reviews. Everybody Googles anymore. So, people go by reviews. If you have bad reviews, your business is really going to struggle. And if you have bad reviews, don't look at it like, oh, that guy was a jerk. He gave me a bad review. I have a couple reviews that were bad, and you're always going to have that. But they were circumstances that I know it wasn't us. It's just there's some people you'll never please no matter what, and they love to see people hurt. That was down. But people look at reviews, and I tell everybody, if you got a company, like if I've done consulting for different companies, first thing I say is let's look at your reviews, because your reviews will tell you your culture.
Yeah.
Your reviews will tell you the business that you run.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't align with your views, that means you got to make some big changes.
Okay. How do you tackle the fact that some reviews are just like, I don't know if you call it a fake review or a real review? Like,
well,
did you come across
you
that
can
before?
respond to reviews.
Okay.
It's usually better to play the high road and not. Perfect example. I only have a couple bad reviews. One of them was I had an employee that I had to fire. Come to find out, he delivered a dumpster without even asking me to his father-in-law, I believe it was. And it wasn't paid for, it wasn't nothing. Well, when I fired him, I found out this dumpster was there. We went and picked the dumpster up. And I don't know if we did it or if it was there when he delivered it, but there's a spot literally that big on the grass from the driveway that has a little rut mark on it. Oh. And he made a horrible review saying we came and took his dumpster and we tore his yard up and, we're just terrible people. We took his money. We never collected a cent from it. So I don't know if his son-in-law charged him or what he did, but I knew it was our property. Mm-hmm. I didn't know who was there, who owned the house. I didn't know anything. I know he delivered the dumpster. So we went and picked up the dumpster. He gave me a bad review. So I did respond to that review and said, hey, sorry, I don't even know who you are. That dumpster was there illegally. And, because once the review is there, it's there. You can appeal it. But, the fact is just bad people are always going to exist. So if you just stay true, it's going to show in your reviews. So the few negative reviews that aren't warranted, people are going to see through that. Okay. I had my other bad review. I literally have, I think, 2 bad reviews on there. The other one was a girl that said we delivered the dumpster too early. We delivered it a day early.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Well, you still got it a day early. Yeah. You didn't have to pay for it. Then she was mad because we picked it up too early in the morning. Well, we start at 6 a.m. I think we got there at 7:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And, the trucks are loud. You're picking up a big dumpster. Right. And we were just trying to give good service. She called, wanted out here. We put her on the first one on the list to give her service. Yeah. And she was mad because we were there too early. And we were there at 7:30 in the morning. That's during legal business hours. Yes. Uh-huh. So she gave us a bad review. So you just brush it off. And, anybody that has a good intellect and when they're looking at reviews, they're going to see that that's not a warranted review.
It's just,
Okay. And if they're real bad reviews, then you got to look into you. What did you do wrong?
Right. So it's just more like going through internally to see and reflect and have the self-awareness to see how can you make yourself better.
Because if you consistently have bad reviews, something in your organization is wrong.
Okay.
Because people aren't going to just give you bad reviews. Okay. You're going to have a few bad apples here and there, but the masses of reviews. We encourage people. It's on our slips, it's on our delivery slips, everything, that please give us a review based on what experience we have. We don't tell them give us it like an internal review. We literally give them, which so many people in business say don't do that. We literally remind them of Google reviews. Yeah. Okay. Because we can't change Google reviews. Yeah. We can internally have a survey that doesn't get posted and we can decide to post if we want. Right. But I don't want that. I want authentically. If we're not doing something right, I want the world to know it and I want to correct it.
For sure. Okay. And I guess going back to all the businesses you guys started, like, your first business, did you guys bootstrap it or do you have to raise funds for it? Like,
my first business, I did myself. It was a car wash. It wasn't a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't a lot of money. And then I brought an investor in for the dealership. Almost every business I did, I've used investor money. Sometimes because I didn't have the money, most of the times because I didn't have the money, but other times I was in a position, why use my own money if I could bring somebody in on either on a business side, an equity side, or just a loan. I truly believe, if you could leverage other people's money,
Yeah.
and it works, why not do it?
Okay.
And if you have to leverage money because you need to get in business, so many people don't start a business and don't chase your dreams because they don't have the money. There's plenty of money out there. You just have to look for it.
How did you start going out and raising the capital? Like, what was
I built friendships first. You
friendships?
build relationships first.
Okay.
We're starting to know each other. We've been,
You've been to events.
events and talking, and everybody says great things about you.
Oh,
We just got talking. I said, well, hey, I know a guy I'll connect you with.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made that connection if it was the first night I met you.
Gotcha. Okay.
I got to see the person you are, the kind of person you are, your demeanor, how you treat others, and the same with me. I don't want somebody just to, let me look at your credit score, let me look at your finances, and I'll decide to give you a loan. I build relationships with people. And then when I have something to present, the people that I've built relationships with, I go to them first because they know me, they have a relationship with me, we have a certain amount of trust together, and then it makes business better because everybody has credit issues of some time or failures of some time or other things. And I don't think you should base doing business with somebody on a FICO score.
Okay.
I think you should do business with somebody on the person they are, the character they are, the type of person. If I meet a guy and I get to know him for a little while, the next thing I find out he's cheating on his wife.
Oh.
Well,
yeah.
That's not somebody I want to do business with because if he's cheating on his wife, he's going to cheat on his business. He's going to cheat in life.
Right.
So if you build a relationship with somebody, you have a better chance of having a successful partnership with somebody.
Gotcha. And you say you build friendship and mostly for networking events. How about if you done it how if you want to find people that's not within the network, not locally, virtually or outside of your.
I've never really done much of that myself.
Okay.
I'm a hands-on, introduce, shaking hands.
Okay.
I just think that works, and that's worked for me through the years. I joined a country club when I was young. Couldn't afford it. It was really expensive to get in, but I got in because I knew it was going to put me in the right rooms.
Right.
If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong rooms.
Okay. Yeah.
And in my small hometown, unfortunately, most of the rooms when I was younger, I was the smartest guy. Maybe not the smartest, but I was the most driven. So I wanted to be around people that were really doing things. I see things I want, businesses I like, the culture I want, and I seek that out. So, I started out where I got most of my investors through the years, millions of investors, was through a country club. I wasn't a golfer. I learned to golf a little bit, but I'm mostly the steam room, sauna, and the cigar lounge. And I just started talking to people. And I was in a town that was old money. There was no new money, sportsmoney.com money, young money. There was none of that kind of money. It was old oil money and steel mill money.
Gotcha.
And, they really like to keep it to themselves. So I strategically went in and built relationships. And I was young, enterprising, healthy, in good shape. I always judge people too. If you don't take care of yourself, are you going to take care of your business? Not saying there's not terribly out of shape successful people, because that's my avatar in my business.
Right.
But those are things that people look at when you're trying to do business with them. So me, it's just always been, if I want to do business in Dallas, I'm going to find events in Dallas, and I'm going to spend some money and take some trips out there and start meeting people.
Gotcha.
Now we have Zoom, which is a great tool, and I used the heck out of it. I was on a Zoom this morning. I'm going to be on a Zoom this afternoon. That's amazing because you have that connection. Over phone calls, it's, and I've done a ton of cold calls, and I've talked to people, and I've built relationships that way, but it's so hard, versus just having that interaction. Go have dinner with somebody, take them to dinner, don't insult people too. If you see someone you want to talk to, don't say, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee when you're talking to a guy that's making 8 figures? Hey, can I take you to Golden Steer? Can I take you to a nice dinner? Can I, you gotta show that you really appreciate that person's time, because it's valuable. The more successful someone is, the less time they have. So if you want their time, you better make it worth their while.
Okay. And say for someone like you say Golden State, nice places, like
Mhm.
even if the person couldn't afford it, they still have to like come up with that.
I never could afford anything I did until I could afford it.
Okay.
I hate the term fake it till you make it, by no means, but sometimes you gotta suffer a little to really win in life. And I spent money I didn't have to get into the country club.
Mm-hmm.
I spent money that I didn't have taking people out. I spent money I didn't have going to events, but I bet on myself. I knew that the ROI is going to be so much greater if I make those connections. But if you pay to go to an event and you don't talk to anybody, then you just
Yeah,
wasted your money. I'm a talker. I make sure everybody in the room knows who I am before I leave. I shake
mm,
everybody's hand. I meet everybody. I don't pre-qualify anybody. I know people out there that look at their watch and they look at their shoes and they decide if they want to talk to the person or not. Because people are always judging in the room. I don't judge anybody. Some of the wealthiest people I've ever met, you would think they're broke because they're wearing Walmart clothes.
okay.
Because all the watches and the bling and the cars, all that really impresses is poor people. Because people that really have success and wealth, they might have those things, but they just have them because they like them, not because they're trying to impress anybody else with
Gotcha. Okay, so just one because they want to get it and feel, I guess not feel good, but just they know they can have it
them. Yeah,
and
they like them. I like nice cars. I like
mhm.
watches, and
Okay.
I used to collect them for a minute, but it wasn't because years ago I wanted a Rolex so people could see, oh, I got a Rolex. I
Mm-hmm.
must be important.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Now I just like watches. It
Okay.
doesn't even have to be a Rolex. If it's a watch I like, it could be $100 Invicta.
Okay.
I like it for me. I like nice cars. I like fast cars.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy things like that to impress people. I mean, it's cool. It's nice. It's
Mm-hmm.
fun. You look good when you got something
Yeah.
nice. But I buy it because it's something I want to enjoy. I want to drive. I want to experience. I want to enjoy it. Not so I could park it out front so everybody be like, oh, I'm a baller. Because
Okay.
like I said, at the end of the day, all it impresses is poor people. But if you're trying to monetize and build a business and scale, yeah, you could build a big social media platform and that works on all the rented houses and all the look at the watches and all that.
Yeah.
But you're not going to monetize that because it's all broke people.
Okay.
You really want to, impress people, impress them with yourself, with your words, with your handshake, not with what you're wearing.
That's interesting. So for me, I grew up in Malaysia.
Mhm,
So my uncle had a business, but he always had a Mercedes. And then
mhm.
one day I asked him, I was like, why you always have the Mercedes? He said, well, in business over there, if you don't come to a client site with a nice car, they will think of you differently. But I do not know, maybe it's a culture that we have back in
No, I
Malaysia.
do agree with that. So
Yeah.
I do agree with that. There's having a nice car versus pulling up in a piece of junk.
Mm-hmm.
I always had when I used to do estimates in my construction company, I had a really nice, clean truck,
Mm-hmm.
because if somebody pulls up and, it's three different shades of color and the rust is just holding it together,
Okay.
they're going to be more apt to do business with person.
Okay.
Um, I totally believe that. I
Okay.
always drive a nice truck or a nice car,
Mm-hmm.
or, I have an Escalade outside, but I don't have a Bugatti outside. I don't have
Okay. Okay.
you still should look professional.
Gotcha.
There's a difference between looking professional with something modest and nice. Mercedes Benz, very nice car, very modest car though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, shows that you work, that you're successful, that you're good with money.
Gotcha.
You don't
Okay.
have to drive a Lamborghini, but you absolutely should. You don't have to have nice clothes. But one area I do think, and I always did, is I always had a decent vehicle because that's the first impression when you pull into a parking lot. They see you get it out of your car.
Gotcha.
So I
Okay.
agree with that,
Okay.
but it's the excess. You could have a nice car, but you don't have to get out and have, $50,000 watch and chain and,
Yeah.
Louis
Yeah. Yeah.
Vuitton and, all the, you see it out here all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, even at
You
the mansion, people
right.
come in, they're wearing $5,000 in gear, and it's like, it doesn't, and half of them are living in an apartment
Yeah.
and they're spending it all
Yeah.
on their image. You don't need to portray something you're not to be successful and to have others believe in you.
Gotcha.
I mean, look
Okay.
at what's his name from Facebook. He wears the same T-shirt every
Mm-hmm.
day,
Yeah.
the same pants every day. If you see me, I do have a few suits, but for most of the time, I'm either black, my pink shirt, my red shirt, and regular jeans. Like
Okay.
I wear polo.
Yeah.
It's not Walmart, but it's not Louis Vuitton.
Right.
I don't. I feel comfortable in this. I like wearing this. I don't overthink it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't need to impress anybody with what I'm wearing.
That's fair. Yeah.
I try to impress people by just being genuine.
Gotcha. Okay, so being genuine. So yeah, that's amazing. Like, I guess you sounds like you've been through so much, you build that mindset, and also coming from, you mentioned about, arm wrestling, building bodybuilding and performance, that
Hmm.
itself, it goes through so much energy and mindset just to be able to be consistent in it. So I guess that's consistent as well, because right now I'm trying to help my friend, work out and stuff, and I kind of see it's like, why sometimes you're not here, it's just, that kind of mindset is just something I see as well, and I didn't realize it until like I was helping my friend,
Hmm.
and like, how do you develop that, and how do you like always be the discipline in that way?
Well, I've never been a team sport player.
Okay.
I try to work out partners, and then when they don't show up, you get discouraged. You don't show up. I only rely on myself.
Okay.
I was a fighter. I was an arm wrestler. You know, everything. I wrestled. I don't play team sports. I play basketball, but just as for fun,
Okay.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's competitive, but it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in team sports, I knew what I was doing, and I would get mad at everybody else for not putting the work I put in.
Okay. Okay.
So I only challenge me against me. I'm never against anybody else, and I'm never in teams. Now you can collaborate in teams in business, but I always know what I bring to the table, what I can do, just like wrestling or fighting. When you're in the cage, it's you.
Yeah.
Immediately people know your discipline, your regimen is, they know everything about you, in the first 30 seconds. They know how much you put into it, they know your skill set, they know how important it is to you or not. And that's what I do. I don't rely on anybody else. I rely on myself. And I try to be my best self for every situation I can. And then you're only accountable. And then you can't blame anybody. And you can't play the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't complain to anybody, because at the end of the day, nobody cares and nobody wants to hear it. So why complain? Just do it.
Right. Exactly. And like you say, when you are like not team sports, like fighting, arm wrestling, going in the cage and stuff, you know, I guess how do you overcome the self doubt and everything as soon as you, like, do you have to build like a mental
Well, I
clarity and
mean, I
strength?
always have everybody has a little self doubt. I mean, everybody thinks, you've got to be tough to get in the ring. I'm terrified every time I fought, every
Mm-hmm.
time I got in street fights, every time I do something. It's always the fear of unknown, but you just have to look at it and overcome your fear and say, whatever the outcome is, I did it.
Mm.
Most people are crippled by fear. Most people out there, they're afraid to lose money. They're afraid to do this. They're afraid to ask that girl for a date because she said, no, I've dated very beautiful women for you. Way out of my league. You know why? Because I took the time to talk to them and say hello. It's a
Yeah.
numbers game,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Right.
gonna,
Yeah. Okay.
and I don't take it personal. When somebody doesn't do business with me, I don't take it personal. When I just move on to the next is number. I have self-belief aside of maybe brain surgery. If another man can do it, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's better than me and can't do what I could. If I want to figure something out, I figure it out. And
Mm-hmm.
most people just don't want to take the time to do that, or they don't have a belief in themselves. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to be prepared to fail. I hate failing. I have
Yeah.
failed so many times.
Uh-huh.
I can't tell you, relationships, money, failures with my children, failures with my friends. I probably failed more than anybody that you'll meet, but I consistently got up and kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it until I didn't fail anymore. A failure to me wasn't I failed at something. It was just, well, that's not quite the way to do it. Let me try this way.
Right. Right. Okay.
If Thomas Edison would have gave up on, at 999, I think it was 1,000 or 2,000
Mm-hmm.
times before he created a light bulb.
Right.
He didn't look at every time as I'm a failure. Thank God for him. Look at the lights we have now and
Yeah.
the technology we
Mm-hmm.
have now from guys like him and Tesla and the innovators. They weren't afraid to fail. They just looked at failure as just that's not the way to do it. And that's what I do.
Okay. And so that's how you were able to build it, and being where you are right now. And was that also the way and the things that you use to build a network and be genuine and
Yeah, and
go through that?
I'm not an innovator, so there's people that are so talented, Tesla and people that have inventions and stuff like that. I'm not an innovator. I look at areas and I see a need that could be a little better, or see an area that might be lacking. I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I just try to make any area I am in
Mm-hmm.
just roll smooth and better with my own
Mm.
personal
Okay.
touch. So, for me, I try to, whatever I'm trying to do, I try to do it the best I possibly can. And I learn from others. We aren't born on this earth with all this knowledge
Right.
and entrepreneurial experience. And, it's you got to invest in yourself. My biggest advice I tell people is invest in yourself, because nobody else is going to invest in you. At the end of the day, nobody's going to care. Your family will love you, but they're only going to do so much for you. Your wife or girlfriend, they're only going to do so much for you. If you want to succeed in anything in life, relationships, spiritual journey, finances, personal development, it all falls on you finding people that know what you want to learn, and learning it.
Okay, and that's basically the biggest advice, like, invest in yourself,
Yeah.
grow, and like, I guess, will you advise people also to go out and get a mentor as well and learn from other people?
Mentors are everything. I have multiple mentors right now.
Okay.
Still at 51 years old, I'm still learning. I still have so far to go. I still have so much I want to do, and I just seek out the people that are doing the best in whatever I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I learn from them. I don't try to figure it out myself. I follow the path that has already been blazed.
Okay.
I don't blaze my own path.
So that basically just shorten the time to be able to learn that by having a mentor and
Yeah, like the business I'm in now is a platform teaching people how to trade. I love trading. I don't
mm,
know anything about it. Didn't know. I always thought it was cool, sexy. When I meet a trader, I was like, "Ooh, man, he's a trader."
yeah.
He gets to work from home. He gets to, it had an appeal to it, but I didn't know how. And you could spend tons of money trying to learn how and losing. Or I found a platform where they know exactly what they're doing. They're years and years of experience, and I just follow what they do. I literally do live sessions with them, and I trade while they're trading, doing exactly what they're doing. You lose some, but you win most, because they took, like, my main mentor in this, he's 16 years. He lost thousands of dollars learning the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
I've saved and cut all that time in half because I'd learned just enough that I could do the trades. Now I just follow him every morning at 6 a.m. I do exactly what he does. And then outside of that, I'm watching videos and learning candlesticks and higher highs and Fibonacci's and moving averages. I'm learning all that later without costing me money,
Okay. Right.
because I'm learning the fundamentals from someone that already blazed the trail.
Gotcha. Okay. And how's it going for you, that new venture of yours
Oh, it's
opening?
amazing. I do two things right now. I'm a performance coach. I help mostly wealthy, unhealthy people achieve their best health, their best shape, live the life they want on
Mm-hmm.
their terms.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm in this trading platform where we teach people how to trade and teach people how to be successful, and how to, my daughter went from working 9 hours a day to she can raise her kids from home now. She works an hour and a half a day trading.
Wow.
I have a lady that she hasn't put her kids to bed Thursday, Friday, or Saturday for 5 years because she has to second job bartend. Now, this is a while back. She sent me a video of her kissing her kids goodnight and said, I never have to have somebody watch my kids again. Now I want to learn how to do this full time so I could quit my day job. I'm actually helping people change their lives, and I'm making money at the same time. It's win-win for me.
And
And I work an hour and a half a day. I work a lot more than that because of my coaching,
mm-hmm.
but my trading, I trade an hour and a half a day. That's it.
Right.
Now I'm building a network and the other side of it. So I'm still working all day, but it's on my terms.
Mm-hmm.
I get up when I want, I go to bed when I want. I do what I want. If I want to work today, I'll work today. If I don't want to work today, if I want to go home back home for a month, I could do that. And it's given me the freedom. I could trade anywhere in the country,
Right.
anywhere
Right.
there's
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah. You can just trade on your phone too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you always do it when the market's open instead
Hmm.
of trading. Okay.
Yeah, like currently right now I do the New York Stock Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Okay.
open at 9:30 Eastern time. So it's
6:30
6:30
here. Yeah.
here. So I trade the opening market. I'm not trying to figure it all out. There's so many different ways to trade. There's so many different ways. I have one person we have 30 educators, but there's one in particular I'm learning from, I'm following, and I'm emulating, and I'm doing what he does to the letter.
Okay.
I'm not trying to overthink it. I'm not trying to, I feel confident enough now I could do some on my own, and I still don't. I just follow him. I
Okay.
follow the system. I don't deviate. Because when you get in the market, there's a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
And when you're in those emotions, you make a lot of bad decisions.
Correct. Yeah.
So I keep the emotions out of it. Not to mention, I'm not even trading with my own money. Our platform teaches you how to use other people's money. So I don't even
Interesting.
use my own money. I have no skin in the game,
Wow.
and I'm making, really good money.
That's interesting. I haven't heard of that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And how do you so like you said there was 30 other educators, and how do you get how will you train yourself to not get that shiny object syndrome?
That took a lot of years of doing, and a lot of shiny object syndrome.
Yeah. Okay.
I had, like I said, I've owned 17 businesses for years. Most have made it. Some have not worked out great. I pretty much didn't get hurt on any of them, but I just realized, I was all in one business. 2006, I lost everything,
Wow.
millions of dollars. Literally was sleeping in an attic with no heat. Lost from having a house with an indoor in-ground pool to nothing. And I realized that I'm never going to just be in one thing again. Now, people could do one thing and do it well, but for me, I'm never going to have that lack of security. I always have a couple things going in my life. But if you get too many things going on in your life, you're spread too thin, you're half pregnant and everything, and you're never going to get anything done.
Yeah.
So I say, I love the term bird of boats, go all in,
Mm-hmm.
but and don't have a backup plan. My backup plan is I got two things going all the time.
Ah, okay.
And I only focus on those. People that have multiple businesses and multiple things, they might have the good enough team and they could do it, and they can run it. But for me, I just try to find a couple things in life and do it well. And even if something comes and it looks really good, unless this is completely on cruise control and running itself, I don't get into any other things,
Gotcha.
and
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
big on, passive income.
Okay. That's amazing. Okay. And I guess in closing, where can people find you? How can people reach out to you? You have tremendous experience. You have amazing mindset, tremendous experience. You're going through the two things you're having right now. So I guess how people can reach out to you so they're
The
more
best way
interested.
to get a hold of me is Instagram. It's Greg Finney Performance Academy FPA. So it's Greg Finney FPA
Okay.
for Finney Performance Academy. Just DM me, reach out to me. We'll have a conversation. I love to help people any way I can. If they're looking for my services or if they're looking to get involved in trading, I'd be happy to help them. But if they just want a little advice, I'm happy to help them there too. And my posts and what I do is, my content is, I'm not a great creator or anything like that. I just be myself. I just try to help people from experiences I've had a lot of failures in life,
Mm-hmm.
and I just try to bridge that gap for people.
Yeah.
I share my failures. Most people only share their wins.
Yeah.
I share all my failures because, social media is such a trick because everybody's a baller. Everybody's a rock star.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody's beautiful. Everybody's got everything.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I don't Photoshop me to make me look thinner or healthier. I don't edit to make me look ripped or bigger. I don't say I'm winning in life every day. I do share my wins, but also I share all my losses too, because so many people they're afraid to do anything in life because social media makes them think I'll never be that. I'll
Yeah.
never do that. They're so successful because so many people only even fake it
Yeah.
or show only the good stuff. You got to be authentic and be yourself. If you see me on social media and then you meet me in person, you see the same guy.
Thing. Yeah. Is it the same thing as imposter syndrome, you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I met on social media and then I met them in person and they're nothing like that. They're not, and it's just, like, wow, if you want to monetize yourself, if you want people to believe in you, if you want people to invest in you, and you want people, you better be the same person on social media and not.
So,
Like I'm coaching someone now, and she's got a potty mouth. I mean, every other word's an F bomb, every other word she swears. But then when she's on social media, She doesn't do that.
Oh.
But in person, she does. I'm like, you better drop them F-bombs on social media. You better talk how you are on social media, because if you are this, I don't swear, this is the person I am, and now you get a client and you're like, F this, F that, screw this, they're going to fire you. They're not going to want to use you. Your crowd, your people will draw to you. So you better be authentic, because when they meet you in like a movie star, you meet a movie star, or you see a movie star and you just love a movie star. And then you might meet the person in public and you realize it's all an act, because they're a terrible person in person.
Because you're an actor.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much again, Greg. I guess you can let the audience know where to reach you again, and on Instagram. Is it Greg Finney?
Greg Finney FBA.
It's all one word?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much to Jackson and Bill Walsh and the podcast mentioned today. So thank you so much, Greg.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me a guest.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.